Hello, good evening, and welcome to the scheduled meeting of the Open Space and Ecology Committee of the fine city of Brisbane. I'd like to call the meeting to order here. And first to consider, is there any request from any committee member to attend the meeting remotely under the emergency circumstances of AB 2449? Any requests?
We have not heard any requests.
Okay. So I just announced about Chairperson Becker remote.
Yeah, we usually do that during roll call.
Okay, good. All right, so I will proceed to call the roll. Chairperson Aaron Becker.
I am here.
Excellent. Shanna Calmes.
Present.
Barbara Ebel.
Aye. Here.
Jason Noonan here. Mary Rogers.
Here.
Michelle Salmon.
Here.
And Glenn Feldman.
Glenn Feldman.
Here.
Excellent. The meeting is called to order. I'd like to move that is there a motion that we adopt the agenda?
I move we adopt the agenda.
I second.
Second. So moved.
Who did we get the second from?
Second was?
Mary.
Mary, okay.
Is there, do we need to vote on that or just?
Yes.
Yes. By roll call every time. Thank you.
Adoption of the agenda for Chairperson Becker.
Aye.
For Shanna Calmes.
Aye.
Barbara Ebel.
Aye.
Glenn Feldman.
Aye.
Jason Noonan, aye. Mary Rogers.
Aye.
And Michelle Salmon.
Aye.
The agenda is adopted. Do we have any announcements to consider? Announcements from the committee?
I don't think so.
No. Great. Moving on to oral communications. Are there oral communications for the committee? Great. The approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from October 25th, 2023?
I move to approve the minutes.
I second.
Second. Let's call for roll. I'm sorry, we're going to approve the minutes here. So I'm going to ask for a roll call from Aaron Becker.
Aye.
From Shanna Calmes.
Aye.
Barbara Ebel.
Aye.
Glenn Feldman.
Aye.
Jason Noonan, aye. Mary Rogers.
Aye.
And Michelle Salmon.
Aye.
Great. New business. It's time for new business, and I've listed here that we have the annual waste diversion presentation by Teresa Montgomery, who we have enjoyed in the past and we welcome back.
Also known as the Queen of Trash Talk.
Ooh,
Yay.
Here. Oh.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to this. It's been a while. It's great to see everyone. I guess I should just jump in.
Can I just do a quick check on your mic?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I probably should stand right in front of it.
Yes, please.
Okay, I will do that. Not a problem. Okay, again, I'm Teresa Montgomery with South San Francisco Scavenger Company. I am the sustainability manager there. Been there since 2016 and actually worked there for 3 years in the 90s as well. So I have myself been recycled. The question before we started the meeting tonight, we were talking about something very timely, which is Christmas lights. So I have to admit, I had to look it up to see. Now, I know that we accept them every day at Blue Line as e-waste. So we can take them as e-waste. Most people would need to take them to us as a drop-off. We could pick them up as part of an on-call cleanup from a single-family home as well. You could also look around at some of your favorite stores. You might find a Home Depot, Osh, Lowe's, Hardware, some kind of store that might also have a take-back bin. And then I knew in the past that there's some mail-back recycling options, but the only one that I found just quickly here was in Wisconsin. And I think probably the carbon footprint of sending it that far would be like biting off our nose to spite our face. So I think it's best if you're getting rid of old lights, you know, if they still work, if they can be repaired, donated, used for something, you put them on a star, keep them. But if you must get rid of them, we can recycle them with e-waste. Glenn?
There's also a place called Scrap in San Francisco that takes crafty type stuff. I don't know whether they would take lights or not, but it might be worth a phone call.
That's a good idea. They might. And down the peninsula a little further, there's something called RAFT, stands for Resource Area for Teachers. Oh. And they often take donations too, but less for artists and more for school projects. So oftentimes, if you're a science teacher and you are looking for some kind of project to put together, RAFT is really good at putting together, they'll put like 30 sets of something together. So a teacher will have enough for every student, and it'll teach some part of curriculum. So if you were to have, say, 30 strands of lights, that might be another place that's worth a call. Anyway, I will jump right in. Adrian, if you'll go to my first slide, please. Or I should say second slide. I'll jump right in to our current data. So Adrian and I worked very hard on City of Brisbane's annual report, which was due to the state to CalRecycle in August or October. I lose track anyway.
Maybe it was October. Maybe the other one is August.
And what they boil everything down to is pure disposal. All the state really looks at these days is how many tons went to a California landfill and were attributed to a given jurisdiction. So they look at it and they said, okay, in 2022, we had 10,331 tons that were landfilled that originated in the city of Brisbane. And then they do math using what I call daytime and nighttime population. So and then they figure out approximately how many pounds of waste per person per day were disposed. And then they compare them to target numbers that were derived from what was disposed back in 2003 through 2006. It's kind of a wonky calculation. If you want to really dig deep into it, let me know. I can walk you through the CalRecycle website and we can talk about it. But that's what this report really gets at. They want to know, they've set targets for Brisbane. The target is 16.69 pounds per person per day, divided by, I call it the nighttime population. And we were well under that at 12.1. And for the employment or daytime population, the target was 7.9 pounds per day, and we were under that at 7 pounds. I included on this slide data from the last couple of years so you can kind of see where we are. COVID-related issues have caused things to go up and down. We had a lot more people at home, so you're going to have more waste generated in the residential programs and a little bit less in commercial. And we had a slowdown in construction. Now that's kind of booming again too. So there's variations that sometimes are hard to predict, but are reflected in these numbers. I think in years past, I've also been asked, how do we compare to neighboring cities? It's really not a fair comparison because population and business makeup is so different from community to community. If we could think of one that was real similar to Brisbane, then I'd be happy to pull those numbers up, but it's not really fair to compare ourselves to, say, San Francisco, Daly City, or South City. It's not going to be apples to apples, much less Colma, right? Totally not apples to apples. So I didn't put those numbers in there. Next slide, please. So SB 1383 requires that we not just look at disposal, but they want to make sure that every jurisdiction is helping to close the organics loop, meaning it's really great that we put green carts in front of everybody's homes and we're having all of our business separate their food scraps and food soiled paper and yard trimmings and all that. But if no one is buying back the compost that is created, then we have a failed program. So the state says under SB 1383, city, you must procure a certain amount of compost or mulch or other materials that are derived from recovering food waste, basically. So City of Brisbane has done very well. I think we're ahead of a huge part of the state because of the anaerobic digestion facility that we have on our property that we always joke and say, your food waste gives us gas, because it's true. So we digest everybody's organic waste, and the gas that is made, we fuel our trucks on. So because we do that, we created 2,783 diesel gallon equivalents in 2022, which go towards the city's procurement target. In addition, we created 1,701 therms, which are used to heat the anaerobic digestion facility. So we get credit for that towards procurement as well. And in addition to that, We did donate in 2022 48 cubic yards of compost for the community to take back as a thank you for participating in the program and to show them what the fruit of their labor looks like. Plus now, the city is part of the Resource Conservation District in San Mateo County, and is it every city, Adrian?
It is. All of the jurisdictions in the county.
It's wonderful. They're all coming together and pooling resources and buying finished product that are getting used in the agricultural portions of our county. So rather than bringing 9.6 tons of compost back to Brisbane and trying to find a home for it, it's being used beneficially by farmers in our own county. So that's a win-win for everybody. And what this boils down to in our annual report to CalRecycle, Brisbane hit 70% of the eventual target that 1383 sets. They dialed it back this year as everybody's kind of scrambling to get all their programs in place and find ways to use the compost. So for 2022, we more than doubled the target. So there's, if you talk to friends that are active in other cities in our county, I think you'll find that most of them are not earning anywhere near that big of a percent of the procurement target. So we're doing a great job here on that. I'm very proud. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, as far as participation, this is another thing. Brisbane is blowing it out of the water. And I don't know how else to put it. Because you adopted 1383 a year before the law required, you're literally a year ahead of almost everybody else in the state. Wow. So most jurisdictions right now are still down to the wire trying to make sure that everyone has access to a green bin. Brisbane finished that task this time last year, more or less. So we're at virtually 100% compliance. Now, there's going to be a few out there that applied for a waiver, said, hey, we just don't generate any. We're a warehouse that no one is in. No one eats lunch here. No one drinks coffee here. Nobody washes their hands here. We have a few situations where they literally made either none or so little organic waste that it didn't make sense to give them a green bin. I think there were 18 accounts that were granted waivers, so it's a very small number. And then in terms of residential, there may be a few out there. You can imagine maybe, say, a duplex where there's not a lot of room for carts, and maybe mom lives in the back unit and son lives in the front unit, and mom's saying, I'm using my son's cart. And we're saying, okay, that works for us. That's reasonable. You have access to a bin, you're using it, we're good. So next up with participation, though, have any of you seen one of these yet?
I don't think so.
I'll hand out a couple. Yes, this is the residential version of our "Oh no" tag, and it's meant to be friendly. For the most part, when we're out looking at residential carts and trying to see if people get the gist of how to correctly sort, we see that they're doing the best they can. Maybe they're being tricked by claims on packaging, something that says it's recyclable, but we can't actually recycle. I'm trying to think of an example. But anyway, we'll leave a tag that says, oh no, you did this, incorrectly. Next time, please do it right. Thank you. And it gives a little bit of explanation on the back of proper sorting and of the requirements of SB 1383. On occasion, instead of us just saying, hey, next time do it better, we'll say, hey, this time do it better. We're not going to pick this up because what you did is really bad. So for an example of that might be we open up a green cart and it's full of styrofoam. We're going to make somebody, we're going to not make, but nicely ask somebody to please fix that. Take the styrofoam out, bag it, put it in your garbage. But in most cases, we pick the stuff up and we just ask that they learn from the experience. As we go this new year, we may be a little bit more strict. Probably going to leave more of these. We're going to leave more that say, nah, we're not going to pick it up because maybe we've already tagged that same bin a couple of times before, and we didn't make our point. So we'll be working very carefully with the city, very closely with the city to just kind of ratchet up our outreach and improve the way people are sorting. We have a similar tag to that for businesses and multifamily properties. It's really the same messaging, it just shows different bins. So let's see. Okay, next slide, please. We have an ongoing outreach program. How many people have been seeing, Ozzy the Organics cart in the Luminary, the Star, Facebook? We're putting it all over the place. I have to admit, I'm having a little too much fun dressing him up and his family and having a good time. The little picture on the slide here of the fox, that is a social media post from Bayrock, which is the Bay Area Recycling Coalition. And it's several jurisdictions from around the Bay Area contribute so that there's a pot of money to do media buys, and we do regional campaigns. So they did a lot of work this year on encouraging people to use reusables. So that's just one example. Often they're multilingual, and that actually is, it's a GIF. If you watched it on Instagram or Facebook, it slides through different pictures of the same cute fox, and it's super cute. So look for those. So we have our scavenger newsletters that go to if you get an invoice, you're getting our newsletter either in hard copy or as a PDF attached to an email. Every year or two, we direct mail a service guide to every service address. We'll be doing that again pretty soon. The social media, our website, the city's website, we've done a really good job of getting as much information as we can on there about proper sorting and about what the laws require. Let's see, of course, the Star, the Luminary. Then big things for us. Everybody's carts and bins. There's a big outreach push in terms of making sure they're color-coded correctly and labeled correctly. Barbara?
What's a Slim Jim?
Haha. So it's not beef jerky or whatever.
Yeah.
So Slim Jim is a brand name of a 23-gallon bin.
Okay.
So like single family, we give a kitchen pail to encourage people to sort their food scraps. If you're a restaurant and you call me, I'm not going to give you a kitchen pail because that would be ridiculous, right? So the Slim Jim is like a bigger kitchen pail. It's 23 gallons. It's meant for use mostly back of house in a kitchen. So when people are washing dishes, they can scrape them into this, or they're cutting up stuff. So we provide those to businesses for free.
Ooh, can we get one at the yacht club?
Call me.
Need one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we also have the tote bags for multifamily, where if you're hauling down your bottles and cans and your paper to a shared bin, we give these bags that have instructions in multiple languages on them. So in your home, you would sort your paper into one pocket of the bag and bottles and cans into the other, and then you can take it down to the bigger bin and put it in. Just, again, something to help encourage people to do the right thing. And then, of course, the last thing on my list here are the cart tags. So the cart tags, I wish we didn't have to do them, but unfortunately, not everybody reads all the other things I put on there. So it's just another way to reach people, as are letters from the city. So Public Works has sent many direct mail letters out over the last couple of years, and will continue to do that as needed to make sure people are aware of all of the requirements of the law. Okay, next one, please, Adrian. These, as you can tell, or as I said, this is me having fun. I looked at, it was, Halloween a couple years ago, and I kept staring at the green cart, and I'm like, do I make him a ghost? No, because then you can't tell he's a green cart. What do I make him? And the obvious thing was Frankenstein, because he's green and he's kind of square. So I had a good time with that. If anyone has creative ideas for me on these, I would love to hear them. Please share.
I think Ozzy should go out on a date with Barbie.
Okay. Did you see, we did the one post because Dan Carter took a picture of Godzilla rolling out a toy cart that I had given him. Well, the carts are the perfect scale for Barbie. Yeah. So we could do some posts with Barbie rolling out her stuff, and it would be cute. Okay, next one. And then this is just samples of one of our newsletters. This particular residential newsletter was from last summer, and I liked it because it really focused on all things organics and explained everything from why we don't want you to use liner bags to what you do if you have overflow because, you're cutting down trees or everything's growing, super fast in the summer. And then, of course, we always encourage people to make their own compost. If you have room for a compost bin or pile, and you can make your own compost and use it on your property, by all means do that. We still want you to use our green card, even if you're doing that, because in a backyard pile, you don't want to put meat and bones. You can't put too much citrus. There's a lot of things you can't put that because you'll have a raccoon party in like 5 minutes, right? So, so our green card is still necessary, but if you can make your own compost, please don't forget that that is a great thing to do. And then on the right side of the slide here are all of our labels, which we updated a while ago to make sure they were compliant with SB 1383. We added the QR code, which takes you exactly to the right place on our website to look up things if you need tips. But again, if you ever find that these need to be updated or we really missed something, please let me know. You know where to find me, and I'm happy to take feedback. But those labels are really I think, our first education. You go out to put stuff in a cart. If you don't read your newsletters, you're not on social media, whatever, you're going to look at that cart. So those photos there are super important. And I know that a lot of people have had their carts and bins for a lot of years. And if you can no longer read your labels, that could be a problem. So please let us know. We do actively ask our drivers to look for that and to relabel as they go. And when we're doing our lid flipping out, looking to see how well people are sorting, we often bring labels with us and relabel. But don't be afraid to contact us at any time. You can call our number or you can send an email to info@ssfscavenger.com and just say, here's my address. I need a label for such and so bin, and we will make it happen. Okay, the next slide. This one, earlier in the year, did anybody see the display in the library? Again, Adrian and I worked on these. We wanted to make sure there was a good message in there. We also had some handouts that had little puzzles and fun things that also delivered the same message as these posters. And I hope that we will be doing that again, kind of change our message up in there. So when people visit the library, they get a chance to be educated on proper sorting. And let's see.
I have to say, talk about proper sorting. We had the city lunch today of all, staff and I should just not look in those bins when I throw my garbage away. I was so disappointed because I thought this, of any group, would sort it correctly. And no.
It happens at our office too. We have occasionally hosted other groups, whether it's a service club or we'll do an industry meeting where people from garbage companies and other parts of the state will come, and they all know better. They all know better. What I have found works is at the beginning of the event, somebody must stand up and say, hey, look where you are. Look what you do. See these bins? This is what they're for. Everybody needs to sort correctly or I will publicly shame you.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
And that's what happens, at least if I'm around.
Yeah. All the half the paper plates went into the garbage when they could have gone into compost. And
that's usually what it takes, is making an announcement that that's the expectation. And I find that that is very effective. Yeah. Of course, sometimes that's not possible. I know we have many facilities in the Bay Area that rent out. You rent your facility out and people come from all over. They may or may not know the rules. They may or may not read the signs. In those cases, often it requires somebody like us. There's got to be someone that goes through and resorts and that talks to people and that is just kind of the trash talker for the event. And if you can make an announcement, great. Otherwise, it's on you to figure out how to clean it up. It's unfortunate, but we'll get there, Michelle. We'll get there. It takes time.
I can't tell you how much other people's garbage I've sorted in the last 5 years.
I bet. I'm with you. Me too.
Top left is wrong because it's plastic bags, right?
Correct.
Top right is okay.
Nope.
Nope.
Is there a paper box in there?
Anyone know?
A lot of paper in there.
There's paper.
It's mixed. They mixed bottles and cans and paper on both sides. So we still have people out there that do not believe that we keep their materials separate. So I put that particular picture in there to remind everybody, yes, we noticed that, and it's a problem. So, that should be, paper should go under the lighter colored lid, and bottles and cans go on the darker colored lid. And it really makes a difference, because if there's still Coffee Mate in that container and the lid pops off when we compact the load, then the paper that's next to it is now contaminated and can't be recycled. So yeah, I really encourage everyone to watch the truck that comes through town to empty those split carts. It definitely has two sides. You have to look at the rear end of the truck as it leaves, and you will see a vertical divider. One side of the truck is a little bit smaller than the other. That's for the paper, and the other one's for bottles and cans. We keep everything separate, and when it comes in, they dump. They're processed slightly differently. So if everybody sorts correctly, we are able to recover a lot more material. So it's important. So that's why that picture is there. And then yes, the top left there, those are film plastics. Those belong in the trash. I know people hate to throw it in the trash because they feel like,
Or the
it should be.
recycling at your local grocery store.
if you can still find a collection bin for film plastics, by all means, a drop off can do a lot of things that we can't do curbside, because like I'm saying, everything's getting compacted and commingled. But if you had just clean film plastic, there are some places that will drop it off. In fact, if you bring just clean pallet wrap, stretch wrap, we do have a box for that inside Blue Line, and we can recycle that as markets allow. It's a tough one because you need literally like as much as would fit in this room practically before you can create a bale. And you need 26 bales to make a load. And we just don't have room for that. And by the time we would have enough bales for a load, they'd be filthy because it's not clean in our place. It can't be. I mean, it's as clean as it can be, but it's not clean. So it's difficult for us.
Teresa, can you make a video of the diversion, like that goes in when the truck comes by, that it really does separate it?
There's a video that has lived on our website now for several years that shows a cart, it's me, coming out, dumping a Nike shoebox and I forget if it's a Coke can, a soda can or whatever, in each side. And then it shows it dumping into the truck and how the truck separates it, and then what happens to it when it gets to our recovery facility.
How long's the video?
A minute.
Can you post it on our Facebook page?
It probably has been there before.
I'm
but
sure
yes,
it has. It doesn't hurt to do it again and
Yes.
again and again.
Yes, we can
Yeah.
definitely
I mean,
do that.
When
I
took-
agree. We should
when-
do it
when
like
this
monthly.
committee came and we toured your facility, and I actually climbed up on a truck and took photographs of the diversion and posted it. It really made a huge difference
Yeah.
for my neighbors who's like, oh, they don't,
Yeah,
sorry,
right?
this all goes in the same place. I'm like, no, it really doesn't,
Or
Yes, I agree. We should post it again. And then I have a new video that I haven't had a chance to post yet, but it will go up. Might keep it for Earth Day. I don't know. Anyway,
Don't
that
keep it.
shows materials running over the lines. So you can
Shannon,
see how they're sorted by the robots and human beings and magnets and all that kind of stuff. So that's coming too for people who maybe haven't had a tour but are interested. And it's short. I know no one's going to watch a 45-minute video, so we're doing short videos.
I think Shannon had a comment.
Oh,
Perhaps
sorry.
next time you have a table out, it could be on a loop, on a projector, on a laptop, and people could watch it right there.
That's a
then
great
and
idea.
there.
We have a handout, but I hate to waste the paper. I like the idea of putting it on a screen. That's a great idea.
Maybe you could even bring a truck.
That's a good idea.
We could
Day
could
and,
park one of those
birthday.
trucks out there and have the video running and
And have a
people
little,
could
maybe
see.
even a step ladder for people to go up and look for
I
themselves.
don't know about that, maybe. But then the other two pictures here, I put, the bottom left is actually a garbage cart, and it has one of our gravity locks on it. Have you seen those out there? Well, they only work if you don't overload your cart and you connect the strap. So it's just it's really frustrating for us when we put that on there because we know raccoons, crows, seagulls, skunk, we know all the problems out here. But we can't fix them if people do that. So you'll notice there is a tag on top of that cart. That cart got tagged for being overloaded. But I just wanted to mention that for everybody who's out there, especially if you have a lock on your cart, please use it.
Are you going to be like random replacing everybody's with one of those? Because what I've seen now is garbage cans get put out at there's a slope where the gutter is, and the ravens sit on those things, and they drop down at high speed and hit the back of the cart and
move
flip it
it.
over.
We
And
did
they
a video
flip
of
it over
that.
backwards and spill everything out.
I believe it.
Wow.
It's
I
kind
do
of
believe,
funny, but not really.
I need to double check, but I believe we're put any 32-gallon cart that goes out new has one of those on it or should. And I think the green ones too. The 32-gallon ones, they're just not weighted as well. The wheelbase on a 64 or a 96-gallon cart is wider and it's much harder to move those. So it's a necessity on the smaller carts, not as much on the bigger ones. And actually, in theory, if people didn't put any putrescible waste, food waste in their gray cart, the raccoons would not be interested. We'd have only a problem in the green cart, not in the gray. But so the fact that we're still having a problem with critters trying to get food out of the gray cart is
Yeah,
telling.
we don't put any food really in our gray cart, and I don't lock it because nobody ever tries to get into it.
right. And your green
It all
cart
goes
is
in the
96
compost.
gallons, right?
Yeah.
So the ravens can't move that cart, or it's harder. I've still seen them move, but
I have a little green cart, and
those will take off.
they tip over as well.
I've seen them in the wind. If you like that gray cart, if you leave the lid open just a little bit and it's super windy, the wind will pick that up and then the lid becomes a sail. I've seen them going, several miles per hour across parking lots. It's wild. They cause damage because they run into cars and whatnot.
Yeah. And sometimes stuff that can't go in the green bin that smells like meat, like wrappings, like the plastic wrap you take off a pound of ground beef,
That's true.
and that attracts them.
That's true.
as well. And sometimes I confess we overload our gray cart, but only the morning of, like when we know you're going to be there in 5 minutes.
But you're taking a chance because your cart can be tagged for that. City has the
Yeah,
strict.
but like sometimes we don't have like what do we do if we have too much?
You can always call us if you know the day before.
Yeah,
Call
we-
us and say we're going to put out an extra bag,
Yeah.
and there's a nominal fee for just an extra bag.
Yeah.
Or you can keep it for the next week. Or if you're friendly with your neighbors, you might be able to. If they have space, you might be able to do that.
Or if you can control your husband.
Does lid flipping happen every week?
No,
That doesn't happen. So it's just periodically?
right.
Okay. And then of the lid flipping exercise that you've gone through, how many notices do you, whenever you do lid flip, how many notices do you provide? Give
should have
back, give back.
I apologize that I didn't bring that number. It was
Okay.
reported in our annual report to Cal
Oh, it
Recycle.
is? Okay.
Yeah, we have that. We could tell you exactly how many carts or bins we've looked in and exactly how many courtesy notices we've
Yeah.
left for minor infractions and how many
interesting.
non-collection.
Yeah.
We can get that to you.
Okay.
Adrian, will you remind me? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, next slide, please. So this one, I just wanted to say, most of the time, what we see when things are not sorted properly, you can tell. It's either somebody commingled their recyclables because they didn't get that it's important to separate them, or we'll see things that people think should be recyclable because they have the recycling logo on them. But occasionally, what we see is complete disregard. So it's hard to tell in this picture, but it is a commercial garbage bin. I'm not going to out the company who owns it, but it is clearly full of just mixed waste. There's food, there's bottles and cans, there's cardboard, there's paper. They have the other bins. They just didn't use them. They have one collection bin inside their business, more than likely, and everybody throws everything in there, and then they just throw the bags in the trash. So these are our bigger problems. These are the type of folks who can anticipate that they're going to get a violation notice fairly soon. We put a tag on there and say you can't do that, but we hesitate to leave trash. It becomes a health and safety issue real quick. So, we really have to be on it. So we will leave a courtesy tag on something like this and call. We will call that day and say, we have these pictures. This is not okay. And hopefully the next time we go back, they will have remedied the problem. So, and then the picture in the bottom right is really the same. It's just showing somebody who filled up a garbage bin with stuff that didn't belong. So yes, there are still people out there that don't recycle bottles and cans that have CRV value. It's sad but true. So they are still out there. And if you come across them, please let me know. We will, for the most part, our lid flipping is random. We're trying to get a sample from all over the city, but it's not random in that once we've gone to a place that we've seen has really bad behavior, they are on our list for return, right? And also people who asked for waivers, people who said, hey, we don't generate any organic waste, we for sure go out and check. And we will continue to do that at least annually to make sure they deserve the waiver. So that's happening. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so behind the scenes, we are working hard to make sure all of our carts and bins comply with the law. So if you remember, for years and years, South San Francisco Scavenger's company color was kind of a gray-blue, and all of our trash bins all over our service area were a gray-blue. Okay, that's a problem, because gray is trash, blue is recycling. So we are, as quickly as possible, color correcting our bins. We're also providing a lot of guidance when there's new construction. We get contacted and we get asked, okay, what kind of service do we need? We make very educated suggestions for how much service they're going to need. We tell them all the different waste streams they're going to need to collect. And we point them towards where they can go for more information on the law. We do our part to make sure that any new places that are coming to town are set up correctly from the beginning. Of course, it can be difficult because sometimes the people you work with during that time, they leave, right? They leave, and then whoever takes over that building comes in, and they might say, "Oh no, I don't want to use this enclosure for trash. I need to use it for a parking space or something that makes them money." And then the garbage gets pushed outside, and then all of a sudden you have problems. You might have illegal dumping. You might have a raccoon party. Whatever it is. So we're trying to work with the city all the time to keep on top of that so that we don't create new problems as new construction comes online. The other things we're doing behind the scenes really happen inside Blue Line Transfer. We have the turbo separator that helps us make sure that commercial organics that we collect we pull out any plastics. We want to make sure we're not contributing to microplastics in the environment. So if people put plastic in a green bin, in a commercial green bin, we put it through the separator, pull out all the plastics, and make sure that we're good to go. We also have the robotic and optical sorters on our paper and bottle and can sort lines that are doing a much better, faster job at sorting those items than we could with only human beings. So it keeps the volume of recovery up for us. It's great. And then the last thing is also required by SB 1383. It's this outbound load sampling. We have to sample everything that leaves our place going to the landfill and say what percent in there shouldn't be there. What part is still organic? We have to sample paper bales, cardboard bales. So, because those are also organic materials. So open up a bale of cardboard and make sure there's not a whole bunch of stuff in there that would keep it from being recycled. So that's kind of new and different for the last couple of years. I mean, in the past, it was just up to us and whoever was buying our material. And as you know, a lot of stuff got sent overseas and then ends up polluting another country, which is not right. So our stuff is very clean, and it's being inspected to make sure it stays that way. Okay, next slide. These are just pictures. This is the turbo separator. So when we put commercial organics through, on the left is mostly plastic that gets pulled out, and on the right is everything else. So it looks kind of like oatmeal. It's very carbohydrate rich. All that material will go into our anaerobic digesters, makes a ton of gas, and adds to the nutrient value of the finished compost. It's great. Glenn?
I was just curious, how's the market for recyclable, like plastic and cans and stuff like that, paper?
You know, anything that's subsidized is going to do well, and stuff that's not, it really is basic like supply and demand economics. We see stuff go up and down all the time. You know, generally speaking, your metals, your glass are going to do really well. Cardboard is more stable. Paper maybe a little bit less so. Plastics don't have a lot of value except for the number one because it's subsidized.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the PET plastic.
The
Yeah.
clear water bottle type.
Yeah. And this is always a weird thing to me. You'd think that anything with a number one on it would be equally recyclable. No. The people who buy the number one plastics, they really only want the bottles. And for a while,
really?
they were subsidizing the clamshells, like you buy strawberries in, those kind of plastic that are number one. But when they pulled the subsidy away, then the buyers didn't want that. So some of it makes no sense, but we are always in the middle of it. We have a broker who's very good, very well connected, that finds us reputable buyers in reputable places, and we recycle as much as we can.
But it's not correct to say there's been a general improvement in the market for recyclables. Is that?
It's better than it was in 2010, 2011, when the Asian markets said no more. It's coming up, and we're seeing some of the domestic markets return. And now that there's all these load samples going and inspectors that are coming, that's helping. It's definitely helping.
Okay, good.
So I have a couple of questions about the compost. The first one is, when you're generating green waste, say you're pruning your fruit trees and they have fungal diseases or bacterial diseases, will most of that get taken care of with your anaerobic digester? Do you have to worry about that?
Unless there's some, I can't think of any, I mean, there's been things in the past that maybe would be problematic, but in the last 10 years, there hasn't been anything where we've been told they can't collect it. So either through the digestion process or at the compost facility where it goes after it's been digested, it gets hot enough for enough time that it would kill anything that is problematic. The plastic is the biggest threat.
Okay. And the other question I had was, with the methane generation that's going to the garbage trucks, is 100% of those trucks running on generated methane? What is the percentage of
It's
that?
about 30 or 40% of our fuel needs are met by that.
Okay.
So we're still buying pipeline gas. So they are all RNG trucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, not all of the methane is made on site.
Okay.
So I have kind of a related question to Shauna's first one, which is I have a couple of black walnut trees that were very prolific this year. They're very hard nuts. And I was looking online at how to prepare them for eating. Well, I didn't have time to do that. So I have a whole box of black walnuts and I have a lot of leaves from the trees. But when I was reading online, it also said that the leaves and the nuts have a lot of tannins in them, which are toxic. So I'm wondering, can I put that box of nuts in the compost?
That's a really good question. I've never been told no.
Okay.
I will, Adrian, can you write that one down for me too?
I'll hang on to the box until,
I will
I
research
hate to
it.
put them in the garbage because they are organic, but I've been hesitant to put them in the green bin because of what I read.
Well, I've been told in the past, palm fronds, I'm trying to think. I think it's palm fronds because they're so fibrous. They don't break down well for compost.
I've
they
got
can get
palm fronds too.
But usually what happens, we try to make it easy for people. If one of our drivers goes by and sees a green cart that is full of nothing but palm fronds, he might call and have a garbage guy come and get it.
Okay.
Because of the problems that it can cause in processing. So we try to handle it internally so that we're not driving everybody nuts with what can and can't go in. but I don't know about nuts. Every once in a while I get asked about shellfish. Can I put in oyster or whatever, any kind of big shells?
Mussels or-
And I'm told they're not a problem. But I think that if you were a commercial fishery and you were going to give me 10 tons of them at once, then it would be a no. I can't do that. But mixed in with all the rest of the stuff, I think it gets ground up and isn't a problem. But I'll research it.
Well, I'm sure the nuts will get ground up. It's just that the shells
tannins.
have a lot of tannins in them. And what I read said, you shouldn't use these in home compost. So I'm just wondering.
I'm going to look that up. I
It's
wanna
not
know.
a huge quantity, but it's, it's significant.
Well, and I've been told like poison oak too. So you have a big backyard and it is overrun by poison oak. That's another one. We don't really want that. But, it is because it does get handled and pushed,
Right.
but fortunately in our service area, we don't see large quantities of it. But if we were in a rural area where people were clearing out, huge 3-4 acre properties that were covered in that, we would have to address it for sure.
We were at 7:15,
Breathe it.
about 45 minutes into our
Okay.
aspirational
Somebody did
90-minute
that.
meeting.
Okay, let me wrap it up. Let's
Okay.
go to the next slide. This is just a reminder of how our sort lines look. On the left is an optical sorter for paper. It helps us to very efficiently sort paper from cardboard really quick. Of course, we have people on that line also that are pulling out things that are not paper and cardboard. And then on the right are our robotic arms that are for sorting plastic. So they're kind of interesting. They're still not perfect. They miss a lot of things. So we still have people on the line too. But the beauty of the robotic sort line is it's a circle. It's a loop. So if we look at the material that the robots didn't pick and we're like, they missed a ton of stuff, it goes on another loop and another loop and another loop until we're confident that we got everything. If you want to see those in person, like I said, I'll have a video soon, or you can always come for another tour. And then the next slide, this is just, were you able to add one more today? Okay, so there's one more after this. This is just, one of our more recent ads reminding everybody that if you're hosting a party, plan ahead. Plan your menu so that you don't have too many leftovers. I mean, if your goal is to have leftovers to send home with people, then make sure people bring reusable containers to bring them home with, and they have a plan for it. Also set your table with all reusable stuff, no disposables. And remember to invite Ozzy to your party because he's going to eat the stuff that doesn't get eaten by human beings. And let's see, one more slide. This just today we were talking about, just a reminder, I don't think anyone in Brisbane no residents have Monday service. So nobody in Brisbane will have any service delays due to the holidays. But if you were planning a trip to Blue Line on Christmas Day or New Year's Day, ixnay on that plan because we'll be closed because all of our families will be celebrating with, at home. And then Christmas tree collection starts right after the holiday. You just make sure you put your naked tree, no stand, no tinsel, no ornaments, no lights on it. Put it out. If it's really big tree, bigger than 6 feet, please cut it in half. Don't bag it, don't tie it, just put it out naked and we'll get it on your regular collection day. If you live in a multifamily property, please have the property manager call us because we don't want to come once for each unit. We want to come once for the whole property. So we try to schedule it that way. Did I miss anything? I don't think so. But I did want to, I feel like I talked fast. Always remember if you have any questions afterwards, if you funnel them through Adrienne, she can send them to me and I can get back to you. I did bring this. I've been holding this the whole time and you're probably like, wow, that's kind of not smart. Teresa comes here with her disposable cup. Well, I brought this for a reason. So the foodware aware ordinance that the county passed a while ago and that every city within the county adopted basically says, hey, if you're going to serve food or drink in a disposable cup, it has to be compostable. And many businesses are still struggling with this. The pandemic really slowed down any enforcement efforts. So, there hasn't been a whole lot of follow-up in enforcement. But I was happy to see at the Pete's that's on the Underground there in South City. They're the first coffee place I've seen that has a truly compostable lid. I see them that are plastic every once in a while that claim to be compostable. But as I said, those get fished out and landfilled. So I don't care what they say on them. If they're plastic, they really belong in the trash. This is the first one. And the gal that I talked to at Pete's said, well, nobody else likes them. It's like a texture thing, right? And I said, but I love it. Please don't get rid of it. You're the first one. This is great. I think people can deal with this. They just need to learn to deal with it. And you know what? Don't take the lid. Do you really? Most of the time, you don't really need the lid unless you're getting right in your car and you're going to spill it. In that case, you really should have brought your own refillable cup, and you get that anyway. But I brought this just as a reminder. All over the county, this is what you should see. Even for a cold iced coffee or iced tea, they should not be giving you clear plastic cups anymore. If they are, eventually, there's going to be some enforcement. We're trying to get everybody to do the right thing without any kinds of fines. But I think it helps when people like us tell the staff in there, this is good, thank you. And then the other thing I wanted to remind everyone, a lot of cups look like this, but are not compostable. This is one of the only ones I've seen so far that I'm confident is compostable because it says right on it, BPI certified compostable. So I know BPI is a reputable certification company. And because when you look in here, you're like, well, it's lined with something. Oftentimes it's lined with polyethylene. So if it's lined with plastic, it's going to be a problem. This, because it has that certification in it, I know this isn't polyethylene. I don't know what it is, but it's not polyethylene. So please help us to encourage businesses to do this. When you see it, tell them thank you.
Sorry, Jason. I'm just wondering, is anybody working on standardizing this labeling? Because, I mean, plastic stuff still has the triangle on it. People still think it's recyclable. There's a lot of confusion about cups and things like that. Are they really compostable? Are they really recyclable? Is any progress being made on that?
Yes, there's the SB 54. There's legislation now that is targeting that. So truth in labeling, putting more pressure on companies to be responsible, have end-of-life plans, product stewardship, they call it, right? I'm hoping that if we could fast forward 2, 3, maybe 5 years from now, but hopefully sooner than that, if I could fast forward to me being here, I'd be like, look, isn't this great? They stopped using that and they're, it's better. They are really aiming to correct that whole problem. What's going to be interesting to me is so far it's only really California that's paying attention to it. So what happens? You walk over the border and all of a sudden they don't have the same.
Well, if California does it, though, we're such a huge market that
That's
it
right.
influences other places.
That's right. So hopefully it'll happen fast.
Thank you.
I have a question. Is there any chance you guys are thinking about doing like an annual e-waste pickup for residential clients? Like one day you put out a box of things as opposed to bringing things down piecemeal. Because, I sort of build things up and.
You can, through the on-call cleanup at single-family homes, you can put out e-waste items. Some of them will incur an extra charge. Some of them won't. And I do remember, I can't remember how many years ago, but at one time, the city hosted an e-waste collection. It might have been 2016. It was a long
2
time
years
ago.
ago.
And no, it wasn't that long ago because I was here and I wasn't
Like
here in
2 years, I
2016.
think.
I think it was maybe 2018 or 19. I'm pretty sure it was pre-pandemic. We held it out at the marina. I'm not sure. I think they said on our countywide recycling meeting today that they had already planned them for their schedule of things for next year, and they hadn't asked us about hosting one again. So I don't know if that means they've already
Spent the money.
spent all of their or whatever.
We have a lot of elderly people who live here and, taking things down might be.
Too much for them.
So we had
Work on that.
Dan Sorrentino who collected e-waste in Brisbane for a long time and raised money for the schools. And so we didn't have the kind of need we have right now because we just called Dan and he'd come and pick up the TV. He'd have to write down where the TV, but all kinds of stuff, plugs, heaters, everything, And that was a tremendous service. And I don't know how he was able to generate money from that for the schools. I wish we had somebody who took
do
that
that.
role, but I'm not sure anybody really understood exactly what Dan did and how he made it work. But we have a personally in our household, we have an e-waste buildup now from not having Dan the man, who we sorely miss for more reasons than that, picking up e-waste. So is there some service or some other organization that does that type of thing to raise money, or?
Adrian and I can talk and follow up.
Okay.
See if there's anything we could do. And also, I know I should stop talking, but one thing just popped to mind. Beth Grossman and her family emailed me not long ago and with a couple of good questions, and I'm going to address them in our next newsletter that goes out. So you'll get it in Brisbane next March. But she asked about smoke detectors and carbon monoxide alarms and power tools that have either big battery packs or battery packs that you can't remove. And so I just wanted to mention really quick, I did research it. It's going in the next newsletter.
And tell
We
us.
can talk about that. So smoke detectors, if they're the type that have the radioactive warning on it, those are a problem. So they require special handling. There aren't that many of them out there anymore, but they do still exist. So it's important to handle those. Most of those have to go in a mail back program. And depending on the manufacturer, some take them for free. Some it's expensive to send it back. So it's kind of not great. This is one of those that like the producer, the manufacturer needed to be held responsible for an end of life process for those and didn't. So hopefully that's going away as those age out. The newer, the photoelectric, I think they're called, those are not hazardous, but they're e-waste. So actually they are hazardous, whatever, but you can handle them with e-waste. So they're a little bit easier to get rid of. The bigger battery items that people have, they start fires. We cannot collect those in the curbside. They have to be taken to a drop-off. So you can bring them to Blue Line. You can take them to any place that has a battery take-back. Some of them there's charges for, some there's not. So it really depends. But like I said, I'm working on getting some details out on those items. It's really hard to address every item, but we'll try.
And I have like an LED grow light that stopped working, and it's like, but they're metal. So it's like, there's definitely recyclable components there. I just didn't know what to do with
We'd
it.
take it as an appliance.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Could recycle it.
Maybe we should have something like Day in the Park, only have it, a recycle day, or like have almost a festival where people bring all the things that they need to, they save them up and get rid of them, like fabric.
I'd call it an amnesty day.
An amnesty day. I love that idea, an amnesty day.
I mean, I've seen them in the past for e-waste, for tires, why not for smoke detectors? I mean, everything has a cost.
Yeah.
And there's, you got to work through all that, but
What if we hosted a day to do them all at once? Just an idea.
and if you gave people enough time so they could,
Yeah,
yeah, talk about it.
Thank you, Teresa.
You're
You were
very
delightful to
welcome.
listen to. It's so good to have you back. Thank you very,
Thank you for
very much.
having me.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yay.
we love trash talk too. I read it every time it's in the luminary.
You know, they imitate it. They look, what's California doing? We should do that. Hey, wow, thank you, really, honestly. And it was more our own comments and everything, not your speech. I was reading it. Hello, I think it's time in our agenda for the staff updates, correct? Yeah.
It is. And if this wasn't next, I was going to try to jump in because I have some that are really related, a couple of things, one or two that are really related to what Teresa was just talking about. So Teresa is aware of a couple of these bits, but there have been a couple of SB 1383 grants from Cal Recycle, kind of formula grants. So all of the jurisdictions that apply generally get them. That is what funded our participation in the RCD compost program this first cycle. It also funded participation in a countywide, though I don't think every city is participating, compost quality campaign. So they're actually going to be having some focus groups coming up around messaging, and have more marketing kind of materials that you'll probably see coming out sometime next year that are really focused on how we get people to keep, especially the plastics, out of the green bins. So there's some work happening there. For the next round of the grant, the funding was a little bit larger. We are applied for that. We're expecting to get word back in March if that was approved. But again, seems like a pretty sure thing based on the last round, the formula grant kind of approach. And some of the things that we talked with Teresa about using that funding for, assuming it is allocated, are increasing the number of compost giveaways that we have annually in partnership with Scavenger to help towards that procurement goal, and also because we know that's been very popular in the community. So we would be trying to do them quarterly. And then also we talked about some direct mail around organic waste, and the bulk of what we are going to be using our funding for is for a Climate Corps fellow. So we had some money in the budget originally that got kind of trimmed back for a Climate Corps fellow. This is going to help supplement that so that we can have a full-time fellow for a year, assuming that we get through all of the contracting and everything. We're trying to see if we can have somebody start in March that would spend a lot of their time on SB 1383, but also help out with the building efficiency program and some of the enforcement requirements there. So yeah, that's in the works, and fingers crossed it will all come through, because we could really use the help on both of those fronts. Not on that side of things, but some of my other staff update notes. I think probably most of you know by now that on November 16th, the dark sky ordinance went to council and was passed unanimously with just a couple minor requested tweaks. So the dates on the seasonal lighting were asked to be shifted slightly, and there's a little bit of like further clarifying language that they asked for related to signage and applicability to porch lights, but no significant changes. We're expecting the second reading to be on January 18th. Other notes, January 4th, pending any further setbacks, PG&E will be coming to do the upgrade at Bayshore Park and Ride. So I am hopeful that not long after that, we will finally be able to bring the EV chargers at that site online. And then I'm also trying to work with PG&E on two other projects. One, we actually had some issues with our solar system on this building. So we've got a repair that we need to do here. And we are continuing to try to plug away at the project for electrifying the pool water heating, making tiny bits of progress and hoping to be ready for a PCE incentive program application early next year. And I think that's all I had.
I don't know much, and this is something you did, but the letter went out to 200 Valley Drive about their tree. And
it went out, and then it came back, and then it went out again today because I finally tracked down the owner's P.O. box.
Are we letting?
I think your mic
guys-
is off, Karen.
Oh, are we letting these guys make a break?
You don't need to stick around if you don't want to.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Teresa.
Teresa.
Thank you.
Thank you for Christine.
Thank you.
I don't have anything more.
Anything, how about the invasive species? Where are we with that?
I'll talk about that under subcommittee report.
Okay, all right.
Are
good,
we
good.
there?
All right, so let's move on to subcommittee reports. Events, anything?
Nope.
Education and outreach. anything?
Nope. We should.
Not from this group, but there is a new library manager who we have had a couple emails back and forth about needing to update the library display. We kind of ran through all of our ideas that we had for focus areas from our prior proposal. So we might need to schedule a meeting for early next year to think about some other focus areas. So I'll reach out to the group about when we can schedule that.
Ad hoc subcommittees, the building decarbonization.
We're meeting next week, I think.
We're meeting on Monday.
Yep,
Monday, yeah, okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's next week, next Monday.
Open space.
Open
plan.
Space wants me to do some work, and there's been a lot with holidays and other subcommittees and other work of mine, so I haven't, but you guys want to meet, we can set that up.
Yeah, we'd like to meet in January. And the only thing we're asking for is, at this point, is the update to the open space plan about the work that we did on the acres and have that codified.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I've been asking many months.
Great. Crocker Trail Frog Habitat.
I have not got that meeting set up yet with the property owner, but we noted, walked back from the Christmas lunch and noted a new fence that the property owner put up next to the channel part. Seems like work is going on the more westerly part
Okay.
without kind of that meeting. So I think we should still want to set that up and formalize it. And it sounds like you guys want to try to have some volunteer days at a certain point in the year.
Do we need a meeting there? for
Yeah, I
the-
mean, I'd like to touch base with Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done a lot of work. I walked by there not too long ago. I think it looks great. Paul put back all the branches that, that outlines the habitat area. I mean, from my view, it looks pretty good. I don't know if anyone else has
Yeah.
taken a walk, but
Let's go for a
he's-
walk soon. I haven't been down there for a while.
So you want us to meet, or do you want to talk to Paul?
I mean, I can reach out to him if you'd like. I
Okay.
mean, that's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
Leave-
that works to maybe touch base with Paul first and then,
And then go from there?
yeah.
Okay.
I will do that.
And let me know if you want to meet, I will jump in. And if you need me to move branches, I like doing that too. I like doing things more. Okay, now, invasive species ordinance.
Kind of a couple parts, we need to meet again.
Okay,
I reached out to, I spoke to the Public Works Director about the nuisance abatement portion of the concept after our meeting with the council liaisons. And he said he thought that that would be a good addition, because then if somebody doesn't remove their invasive species, we could invoke the nuisance abatement ordinance to go in, clean up and put it on a property tax bill. He wanted me to check with the city attorney. So I reached out to the city attorney and I got I'm on vacation, I'll get back to you after Thanksgiving. I drafted an email to the subcommittee, but I didn't have the answer. So I was like, I don't want to tell you I know or I don't know. And then I heard back from him and there was an overlap when I was gone. So I haven't got back to you guys yet. But he said he thought there's a fire prevention code that lets fire go in and abate weeds, and it references any invasive species. But I didn't go through it in detail yet, and it refers to the fire department making that contact. So I think we have to work through the nuance of that.
okay.
So I will be in contact about it.
Okay, so you reach to us and we'll meet and talk about it? Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. So it looks like fire department could do it, but
We want to have some,
Make
I don't know if our code can reference that, but then then it's
okay,
code enforcement staff that does that outreach instead of fire. I kind of want to work through that.
okay. So early next year, we could, like January?
yeah.
All right. Meeting early next year. Okay, great. So dark skies, that's awesome. And so you're saying that's already been referenced, that's coming back to the council and,
Yes, and I did send some updates based on the council's feedback to the subcommittee. Maybe a week or so ago. So you should have that. We're still kind of further tweaking the language on the lighting based on the lighting in the city's existing sign ordinance and trying to make it as clear as possible. But there is a version in this Dark Skies Subcommittee's inboxes if you want to take a look at those minor changes. I don't think they're anything we need to meet about at this point in time, though. Glenn?
Assuming that it passes, are we going to take any unusual measures to let people know, especially businesses, that the ordinance has passed and they need to look at their lighting? I mean, are we going to send them a letter, or are we just going to rely on the star and things like that?
You know, we haven't talked in that much detail about what exactly we are going to do, but I agree, we do need to, that is definitely something that we need to discuss, and we'll need to have a pretty robust outreach effort. I think that's been recognized by everybody across the board. So I think maybe after adoption, the subcommittee may want to meet to talk a little bit further about how we want to do that. If that subcommittee is the right place to do that, or if that should then move to education and outreach subcommittee, I'm kind of open to either approach, but I think we do need to talk through a little bit more what that's going to look like.
And I had a question about that as well. For example, on my street, there's been reconstruction at a house, and now the address is lit up, but it is lit up so much. It's like,
We don't have
it's
an ordinance yet,
ridiculous.
right? So-
I mean, it literally, I can't take a picture of it because it's so bright. Yeah, and I was like, I know the fire department wants, lit
Yes.
numbers, but it seems like it's exactly the opposite of what we're trying to do here. And
Yeah.
is this going to be addressed, or?
That's a tricky one because we did, because there are fire requirements to have addresses lit. They are kind of carved out and exempt, but the language is such that they should be, only as required by, for safety needs. So, enforcement on that one, I think, is going to be a bit tricky. But yeah.
Tree issues. Any issues with trees?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a nice meeting.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yeah, we're gonna get some training on the Canopy software. Canopy software, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
Also, after our meeting the next day, I did a kind of a drive around with Keegan Black at the marina to look at the situation with the trees there. And we do have a lot of issues there with trees, and I'm concerned about it. We discussed it at length and actually spoke with Randy about it a bit tonight to investigate further.
And is that something any of us could look, is it like an online tutorial for the Canopy software to look at that?
So we're actually, we've asked them if they would actually come do it at one of our OSEC meetings. The trainer was open to it, but he had to run it by their kind of marketing and everybody, and holidays and illnesses. Last I heard from him, which was just a couple days ago, I think, he said didn't have an answer yet, but hasn't forgotten. So
Would be nifty though. don't you think? There's a lot of
yeah.
us
Yeah,
that-
everybody
Everyone.
should be trained on
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. I think it'd be good. Awesome.
it is, there are some tutorials and things. And so, yeah, I mean, if
But it's
they
possible-
aren't willing to do it, there are probably some ways that we could.
All right, so possible guest
Light.
speaker, but otherwise we'll self-tutorial. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome, good.
And
I'm
they're gonna-
assuming nobody did anything about the specifics plan for the Baylands. Anyone do anything about, no, good. Okay. That moves us on to the calendar items portion of our evening. Did anyone?
Well, as I started looking ahead to next year, I wanted to just note, so pending any confirmation of the Canopy folks coming to do training, January, we'll plan to discuss our work plan, potentially the invasive species ordinance in February, TBD. And then I know this is getting way far ahead at this point in time, but there is a statewide climate and energy conference that falls on our meeting day in June. So I'm proposing a summer cancellation because there's also a city holiday the week before and the week after. So it's would probably be a difficult time to try to reschedule. So
Second that proposal.
summer break in June. And that's all I have at this point in time. I think we talked last time about the planting day, February 3rd, and Earth Day, April 20th.
When's the science fair and who's doing that?
Ooh, fantastic
Good question.
point. It should be coming up soon. And the subcommittee is, I believe, Mary and
Barbara.
Barbara?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send out, I have an email. I'll just send it out to, they usually go through Bob Detmer and then Joe Condon about Letman.
Anything else on the calendar?
Calendar? No. Chair and committee member matters. Anyone have a member matter?
All of our members matter.
I agree. And Teresa was great. I hope she didn't take that personally. No, she was great. The next meeting is January 24th, and wishing everybody a fantastic holiday and wonderful. And is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Or, yeah?
Just hit the
I
gavel.
so move.
Hit the gavel. Is that, we're there? Was that
No
simple?
motion is needed.
No
You
motion
can
needed.
adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for leading the meeting, Jason.
Quick, right?
That's record time.
7:46, yeah.